Waiting for Fabian's opening introduction.
Oh, welcome everyone. This is the special Monday edition of the Geoscheduling call, featuring colorful issue labels and entertainment for the next 45 minutes. Over to Rachel.
I'm going to share my screen. Right, can you see the billboard?
Yes. I mean, now it's wider.
Okay.
Even wider.
So there are happily 9 things sitting in the closed column, which is fantastic.
Yep.
Even though this does feel like a little bit of a cheat since it's a Monday instead of a Friday. I wonder how much was closed on Friday. Sorry, I'm just trying to open all the tabs. The last one is after enabling add question, sync, designs, RuberCop, log cursor, GraphQL, and update docs. Okay, after enabling the FTW, the tables were not refreshed.
Yeah, so I mean, this is closed because Mike made the good point that this is probably, should I say, it's an old ticket, but there was a lot of discussion, and there is a follow-up epic that actually tracks all the work that is related to this.
Realized in the past I'm just removing the active column, but I can actually take off InDev as well. What's nice about this is also it's a P2 bug that we get to close, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really closed. The issue is closed.
Yeah, there's some follow-up stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it should have been closed by a previous thing, but it was renamed, so we had the challenge, and this is done.
Yeah,
okay.
And that is also in the release post, so that's quite nice. Very happy with that.
Okay. Question: does replication break? Or no, does replication work? And we've raised all the follow-up questions, so we can close this one. Okay. Before I close this one, I think there was something related to this, but I just want to double check. I feel like there was something related to this that was in the blocked column, but I might be wrong. I'm just double checking if my memory is bad. No, it was something completely different. My memory is terrible. Okay, this one is fine. Let me close that. Okay, misaligned secondary read-only banner. Yes, this was falling all over the place, and Cashel closed says the bug was fixed. Good stuff. Okay, sync designs that are not installed in LFS. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just.
And ready for this up. Okay, enforce the RuberCop migrations. I like this. When digging into it, I decided it was faster to just make the changes. And sometimes that is correct.
Yeah, it certainly is. It reminds me of the proposal that very often, like.
That's brilliant. Yeah, proposal. Just do it.
Just, do it.
Okay. I'm going to refresh the board and all the closed things should be gone. No, because I can't click on the last 3 that didn't open. Okay, 3 more. Right, log cursor never exits. This was connected to the Helm chart work. That has been done. I've opened a different thing that's been merged. That's the way to go, but that's already been merged, which is great. So we can close this or not. Okay, GraphQL does not work on the secondary node.
So I think this had to do with the fact that the GraphQL API was just broken, and they just went ahead and fixed it because that is related to the design repository work.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's not. I mean, yeah, it is related. It just needs to be fixed.
Yeah. And last one, update the docs. Good stuff. Okay. I wish there was an easy way to remove the labels without having to type them out.
I think you
Dear
should.
fan team.
I mean, what I sometimes do is there is the short, like a quick action to do it, and then I just copy paste this into, which is a hack, but that's
well, it's still built into the tool to do that, so it's not really a hack. But. Okay, in review, some questions about the order of running commands, creating events, object storage, exposing this, and updating the documentation. Okay, let's start at the top. I still laugh every time I see it.
I like it as well.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we with this now? The last comment here was 2 weeks ago, and then the milestone got changed and it's been added to the epic. So
no, I think you should look in the merge request, because I think this is so it did not make it into 12.3, but I think don't think this is the right one. There is more than one merge request. I think it is the updated Geo zero downtime instructions. And my understanding is that
yeah.
So I think the state here is that it's waiting for Evan to be reviewed. Both Douglas and I signed off on it, so it's in the in review for Evan, and then we should be good.
So if Douglas has approved this merge request, does that mean I can unassign him from it? Is he acting as maintainer here?
I'm not sure. Maybe we also need approval from Ian or like somebody who is a maintainer for Omnibus.
Yeah, since you're on the call, is that must I assign it after Evan's done it, then we assign it to Ian or someone on Omnibus?
Yeah, that would be my guess too. And you can unassign Douglas, I guess.
Okay. Creating events on design creation. This is the just do it proposal. Yeah.
It is apparently being done.
Yes. Okay. This one, I've just spoken to Gabriel now. He's busy working on the manual testing for this. Mm-hmm. So I'm leaving that there. Okay. Exposing design repository for primary to secondary. This is probably one that Valeri's also on as well.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, this is essentially the work he's doing, I think, in collaboration with Douglas on all of the things that need to happen to support design repositories. And my understanding is that so far it's been proceeding pretty okay.
I know I haven't gotten to the bottom of my emails yet, but I haven't seen anything glaring that's sticking out on them, which is great.
I mean, one observation I have is that these are smaller tickets, so they actually move through the cycle a little bit faster, right? And that is quite nice.
That's exactly the right way that it should be going. Rather than having one colossal ticket that never goes anywhere, having all of these little tickets, it's much easier to keep on top of what's happening.
Yep.
Okay, then this one is about creating the HA documentation. Mm-hmm. So this is the merge request for that. So this merge request is currently loaded.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Okay, so we just got 4 more discussions to resolve here.
Yes. So I think, there is one discussion ongoing about where to set auto migrate and where not. But I think we are getting there.
Okay, so who's the right person for what is the next step here? Because I think sorry.
I think the next step is that we should schedule the next upgrade call, and they should use whoever performs that should use these instructions again. And if that actually happens, I think we have another confirmation that those steps are actually okay. Then we just need to resolve all of the remaining little questions. And then I think it's off to the maintainer review by Ian or somebody else. So I'm pretty confident we should get that over the line in the next week or so.
Okay. Okay.
I made tickets for those, or issues for those, actually. We can, you will see.
Okay. Okay, and then the two that are blocked, yeah, that we had recently opened that one, but let's just double check what's in there again. And this one, we were waiting on some decisions about dr.gitlab.com. Since Ash is out, I don't think we're going to be able to resolve any questions we have on that anyway at the moment.
No.
That's right, currently blocked there, and we're working to verify those changes.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, this is also something, I think we've learned so much about the upgrade process. We as Anton and I probably need to revisit if what we initially planned is still applicable, right? And just make sure that we do this in a sensible way.
Sure. Okay, workflow in dev. The secondary upgrade fails. Oh, this is the one that you did, and then Ian's acknowledged that there's something strange going on.
That's right.
There's two options here.
Yeah, so I think the last state as of 13 minutes ago, which I have not seen because I'm in this call. Let me read. Okay. So I think here the next step is to actually decide on one of the two paths towards resolution, which is, I think, partially a technical decision. So I would like to get some input from the team. Like which workflow is preferable. My only comment was that one of those proposed workflows essentially limits our DR capabilities. And I think that, to me, suggests that we should do that. Like if you upgrade the secondary before you upgrade the primary, then if you break your secondary, your primary all of a sudden is without a working replica, which is maybe not preferred, right? You would like to have your secondary definitely working, or have at least two secondaries. And so that's it.
Okay, well, let's leave that for some further comments because there might be some more things to consider with this. So let's leave that for a day or two waiting for comments on this. But what I will do is I'm going to do this.
And I think there is potentially also sort of decisions to be made in terms of when this actually gets resolved. You know, this is maybe a backport type of situation. I don't know. We have to just talk about it.
Okay. Well, I'm putting in when we put the comments out later. That asking for comment there, just to highlight it again in case people have missed it.
Yeah, I mean, I only wrote it 6 hours ago, so it's.
So there should be an answer by now.
Yeah.
For our team.
I was typing out an angry message in Slack already.
You angry? Never.
Yeah.
Okay, repos without a decent commit are flagged as invalid. Yes, this one was when there's when it's older than 2 years. It's invalid, which is bizarre. I see Douglas wasn't really able to reproduce this with the repos they provided, so that's interesting. We're waiting back to hear from them how they did it, or if there's any more information they have. Okay,
yeah,
so
maybe it's worth pinging though, because that was 3 days ago, and.
Well, 3 days ago was Friday, so.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Just then leave it, and we can follow up.
We'll leave that for another day. Test and validate this one. Where are we now? So this is also part of the whole upgrade, testing. I was just thinking this before I even read it. Maybe we should actually close this one out because we're doing this through other issues that we've already discussed on the call.
Yeah, so my suggestion, as I said, we can decide it on the scheduling call, so we can just close it now. And
wow, my typing. Yeah. Comment and close issue.
If you click at the epic, you'll also see what this entails.
Just before I remove, I just want to get rid of this and this. Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Okay, great. Then there's the four issues that are related.
And then we can schedule them separately because they actually detail what needs to be done. And they also contain checklists on what actually needs to be done.
So is this one the first one?
Yes. I mean, actually the manually upgrade the Postgres is probably the first one. And then the two upgrades.
Okay, so these ones we're going to talk about later in the call.
We don't have to talk about them now.
Okay, I'm just going to refresh this board. Okay, create design repo table to track the design repos. Okay. Okay, he's going to schedule a call with Douglas. Okay, that was also 3 days ago, so I'm not expecting that they would have moved over the weekend. Yeah, I'm glad to see this one is out of the blocked column and into the working column. And Douglas is going to take a look at this with him. Okay. Well, at least it's unblocked, and they will be looking at that together. And I was very happy to see this as well.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I think that, so is it Evan or Even?
I feel bad that I don't know.
I think it's Evan. But if you are listening to this call, we apologize because we don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm not sure if this is not actually in review. Can you look at the merge request?
He added in review and removed ready for development. And then you added in dev and it removed in review.
I don't know why I did this, so feel free to move this back.
I think I'm going to move this back to review because when I was looking at this...
Yeah, no, I actually agree looking at it. That may just have been like an issue mishap on my end. So.
There we go, back in review.
Very good.
Fantastic. Okay, and then in the ready for development column, there's just the one item. So let's go to the scheduling part and then we can reorder what's in this column.
Cool.
Cool. I'll swap over to you.
Thank you. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, let me refresh the board. Super. Okay, so I took the liberty and so what I did is, you can see this here as well, because you were out on Friday, I essentially went through some of the things already and like sort of pre-scheduled them, like the things that I think actually need to be done. So we can do two things. We can either like go through this board here, or we can just pick it up from here, which may be a little bit easier. I can't hear you.
Sorry, just so that you wouldn't hear me drinking my tea. Yes, let's pick it up from here.
Okay, so the first one here is customizable Git HTTP clone root URL. So this is a sort of companion issue that came out of the work to document how to use a single Git URL. And the proposition here is currently we can customize this URL here for SSH, but we can't for HTTPS. And that defies the purpose of like a single URL a little bit. So Mike proposed to do this now. That would essentially mean that you can set these URLs here to one location everywhere. And I think that makes sense to just do it in tandem with the other work that's going on, because otherwise it feels a little bit like, we can push out the documentation already, and that's okay. But I think then once we have this, it actually makes a lot more sense for customers, I think. So
I tend to agree with you there.
Cool. So I'll move this over. Fix refresh foreign tables on reconfigure. So this is, so what I've done, and now this should make sense. we closed one of the issues, which was the P2 bug report about like foreign data wrapper not working correctly. And actually, when I went through this on Friday, I realized that there are a lot of small items that have to do with foreign data wrapper not being updated correctly, and certain issues not giving the actual state, and it's all a little bit like ready for improvement. So what I did is I actually created an epic and then grouped all of those like tiny items out, which spun out of discussions from this big issue, right? And so what I'm doing now is essentially saying, let's start moving through those little issues because they are actually nicely broken down. That's not so big and ill-defined anymore.
Makes sense.
Yes. So the first one is fix, refresh foreign tables, and reconfigure. This is I think the most important one because it actually, let me remove needs wait. This is the issue that we see when updating, where you update your geo instance and then you are presented with a foreign data wrapper schema is out of date, and that should just be handled automatically and shouldn't require like manual intervention. So I'm happy to schedule this.
Yep.
And then here, these are also sort of associated bugs that have to do with the foreign data wrapper commands. And like this one here, I think Tone opened that. Yep. Where you run GitLab check and it actually doesn't give you the correct status for the like FDW, and that can be confusing. And that's just a sort of a small tag on to the other issues. So I leave this in here maybe. This one is maybe more important. This is about fixing a race condition.
Fixing a race condition is only a weight of 1.
Yes. Let me have a look. Why did I change it to 1? Well, I didn't do it by myself. I'm relieved.
Resolves the issue and gets a better understanding of what to do next.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question that I have is this work for the for these foreign tables? Is this the most important thing that's currently on our list?
I think in yes-ish. So I think resolving the omnibus upgrade issue is the most important thing that we should just get out of the way because it affects upgrades. And these like small items, they're maybe not the most important things we need to do right now, but I also think they are relatively small. And we have accumulated a good amount of bugs overall that I think when we have a chance to sort of group them with functionality, like I feel better about like just getting them out of the way, right? Because that's something that, I think otherwise would just not happen. And it feels to me like a better story. Like, for example, if we implemented all of those small things, we can actually, I think, write into the release post, we worked on making upgrades for foreign data tables more robust, right? And in order to achieve this, you need to do all of those little things, and that forms a nice package. Whereas the most important, like this just by itself is probably not as meaningful. So that's my thinking behind that.
I like that. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm trying to sort of tie this up.
And do you want to just pull in that rake check as well to just wrap up the group of work?
I think so. And then I think this here is sort of like similar. These are like the instructions for, this is essentially like also, this text here is not quite right? And that should also not be a lot of work. But I think this is maybe something we can just, like do in conjunction, right? And then like have a little bit of a cleanup operation in that regard. But there are other things, and this is something I mean, this is a weight of 9 and 5 issues, right? So I'm like, we could do this next week, right? It doesn't really matter that much. So this is why I'm a little bit hesitant.
I think if we leave it there as a pack of work, if someone happens to get through an awful lot, then at least the whole pack is together. And when we discuss it next week, it's not, something may have changed and then the bug just disappears back into the bottom of the backlog somewhere. At least if it's in that column ready and waiting to go, we're less likely to say, oh no, it's not as important anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that leaving it together there with its friends is fine, but I think that's probably filled up that column nicely. There's still a lot of work that's in review, and 4 things that are in development. Yeah. So I think that's and it's a Monday instead of a Friday. So I think that's plenty of work to keep going until Friday.
That's true, except for one thing that I would like to do this week, which is not really a one, which are these upgrade calls here.
So that's the first thing is we need to figure out an actual number for the upgrade calls. I mean, a one is supposed to be one ideal day of work. If you did nothing else for the whole day, it would take you this time. And I guess an upgrade is only a 1 because it's a call, right?
Yes.
Okay, so 1 is fine. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is essentially, I think what I would like to do is schedule those and then actually upgrade the Postgres version, which requires a little bit of investigation with the distribution team on how to actually do that, and maybe raising some follow-up issues if this is not well documented, right? But that is a separate thing. And then the other bit is to actually then upgrade from 12.19 to 12.2, which you can probably do together in one call, or you can also split them, which is why I put them into different things. But I would like to continue with this because it is, I think it's important and we're sort of in the middle of it. So yeah. we should schedule those.
Do you think it's important for the same person to do those 2 items or for 2 different people to do them?
I think they can be done by different people.
Then let's pull one of those in, and in the discussion thing, I'll ask for a volunteer that's going to pick that will schedule that work, because Douglas has done one and Mike has done one. So I'll ask for a volunteer from the set, not Mike or Douglas.
I think for both of them, I tried to actually sort of make a little checklist so that when we continue to do those, we actually perform similar steps, right? And just go through this and say like, okay, like I've read the instructions, I've checked, like a few things, which may be helpful if this is helpful for the people upgrading.
Retrieve beverage of choice. I like that.
Yeah, within a drinkable temperature range.
And hitting that record button is a good reminder. I like that.
And I think this may actually be something that, if this works well, we could spin that out as a, like as a template for customers, and then maybe at some point even codify this, because I think checklists are great for these types of activities.
The one thing I can think of at the end of this is that it feels like the next one should be scheduled at the same time as the call completes. That's because then it becomes a cycle. And even if it's not scheduled, just that the next person in the list is pinged. Like maybe the order of engineers just needs to be set, and then whoever's the next in the list gets pinged to create the next upgrade.
Yeah, I think we can think about it. The way, like, I tried to make this as an issue because I felt then we can essentially just do what we're doing now, which is just put it on the board, and then somebody needs to pick it up, and that doesn't become sort of an extra activity that people need to like be informed about. It's something that we that is just a regular like thing.
Yeah, but I feel that it has to be assigned to someone because I feel like this responsibility needs to be rotated amongst the team, and I also feel like some people will naturally choose it and some people will naturally avoid it. And yeah, I feel like it needs to be shared out, but I'm open to discussion on that. So
okay, we can. I mean, that's maybe a follow-up discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's a good amount of stuff to work through.
Okay.
To the rest of the scheduling board, I'll refresh this. So I've done quite a bit of work with the .com epic, right? And I've actually added descriptions and tasks to this, and I would really like to do this next. But I'm also, I think Ash is on vacation for 2 weeks now.
The 2 weeks, I thought it was just the one. Let me double check. Oh, wow, it is 2 weeks. He's back on the 4th.
Yeah, and I don't think we should wait for 2 weeks to start working on this, right? So I think this is maybe something to discuss, because I think what ideally should happen relatively soon are these tasks here, which are all to do with, like actually like documenting a proper handover from infrastructure, so we know what they've done, right, and where they've left it, and then creating at least one sort of architecture diagram for how this is actually supposed to look in the first stage for staging, and make some determinations here on deploying it to Canary or not. But I think this is important work to get rolling on before we actually go into the implementation. And this is something I don't think only Ash can do it, right? But I think we need to talk about how this will be done.
So for that, determine if we need to include deployment to Canary. Assign that to me and put it into ready for development. And what I can do is I can start the discussion with infrastructure about whether or not we should do this. And because determine is just, ask the question, have the discussion, and make the decision. So I think that doesn't have to go through the planning stage. We just do it. We just start that discussion. And I think also for creating the diagrams, perhaps that's also something that I can pick up with the infrastructure team. I can find out who, because also I'm not in Devon's time zone, and I don't think that asking him to create the diagrams for us is necessarily right. We might be waiting for a while still.
Yeah, no, I think this is something that it doesn't need to be hard, but these things they don't need to be done, but I think it would be good to have them, because I think that gives us a little bit more of a sense of where we are at.
Well, it also just confirms, having these diagrams confirms that we're going to do what infrastructure wants us to do, rather than guessing and then both of us being disappointed. It's managing expectations between them and between us. So for this, I think this is something that I can pick up with them without placing additional load on the team, and without having to wait for Devon or Ash. So if we can put those both in the backlog, and I'll actually do some work for a change.
I like this, Rachel. We can do this more often. Okay, so all right, cool.
Cool. So then let me start with those two, and if I get through those two, I'll pull on the DR. I'll pull over the DR one as well.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
I gave this a 3 because I thought this is a little bit of thinking work, right, and back and forth,
okay.
But it may be less.
And that handover from infrastructure to geo, what all is that?
I don't know if that hasn't even happened, but I think I know that Ash has talked to people, but I would like to have written down, these are the things that were done before, right? And these were the people who were involved, right? The information has been actually shared, right? And this is written down somewhere, saying this is the state of things at this moment, we understand it, and now we're going to do the next things. And I think this is more of an incentive to say yes, we've actually kind of handed over, from infra to geo on some level, and the information is not lost in between. We've at least met once and talked about it. And I don't even know if Ash maybe has done that already.
So maybe what we do is, part of the conversations that I have about getting those diagrams drawn up, I'll get the diagrams drawn up, and then when we go and share this back with infrastructure to say, did we do it right? We also share with them, this is everything else that we have. This is how we're going to communicate with you. Rather than treating it as a handover from them, it's more of a, we take ownership of it. They're not handing it over, we're taking it. It's the same thing, but it's more from a perspective of we're going to drive it from here. So I think leaving it as handover is fine, but I think we just need to treat the issue as they're not handing it over, we're taking it away. I don't know, does that make sense?
I'm not 100% sure. I think what you're saying is...
it's about it's about who's driving it. I feel like this needs to be us driving it, not waiting for them to hand it.
No, that's true. But like us driving it will involve organizing a meeting with them, right? Then actually documenting our plans, documenting the steps taken, right? Like all of those. Like I think this was more me thinking. I was like, right, let's make sure, like infrastructure understands what we're trying to do. We are coming in, we're doing this, but also that we understand, what they've done, and that we're not like losing out on previous work or like on previous discussions.
Then maybe what this should actually be, because I think that the sort of handover has already happened between Ash and Devin. I think what this needs to rather be is like a checkpoint meeting with them. And it just needs to be a checkpoint that what we plan to do matches their expectations. So we show them the documents. We collect if there's anything else that we don't have from them. We tell them how we're going to keep them informed.
Yeah. Okay, I will adjust this.
And when we're going to, and when or how we'll update them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. I mean, this is something, it's not like a big thing, but it needs to be done.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. See, more issues. All right, so let's refresh this. Yeah, more upgrade meetings, more generation here. Some work for some more bugs, which are fine. And then I think I'm not sure why I put them here. Give me 1 second. I'll move this down a little bit because this is sort of a natural thing that may happen. Organized checkpoint meeting. Okay. So I think what is happening here is we still have a few sort of small tasks and bug reports, and I'm happy to do them. But actually, another thing that is in here that I will probably, after looking at it now, prioritize a little bit more is the verification work for uploads, which we haven't really started on yet, and that's okay. But I think we should start on it relatively soon because that's I think a hefty piece of work. So that's I think the next big thing that is sort of looming here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I think at the moment we've got plenty to keep us busy right now, and we can be pulling those in soon. Okay.
Yeah. I think one thing that I sometimes struggle with is I have quite a few items here in my sort of long pile of things to schedule that are already sort of ready, and it is sometimes a little bit difficult to see sort of here at the bottom of things, like what is the actual priority order. So.
Are there any temporary columns that we could create on here to make it easier to see certain things? Like, should we create a bug column here, maybe?
That may be helpful.
Because I mean, ideally, we could see epics. That would be wonderful. First prize. I would be singing and dancing.
What I'm missing, right? Because I know these things belong to epics, and so I have in my head, I know roughly, what I want, what is clustered together. But because it's just a big pile, it's really difficult.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of different ways to split the pile, and the only way I can think of is on labels.
Yeah.
If there's something we could do, even if it's just splitting the bugs out separately. I don't know.
I'll have a look, because I think what I did on Friday is I just went through the entire pile and surfaced what we discussed in the like active column, right? Where I was just like, yes, let's please do that. But yeah, like it becomes a little bit difficult for me. Anyways, let me refresh this. On the planning board, so there are a few things at the moment that are like potentially coming up that are customer driven, and again some bugs that I need to understand, like how much work they actually are. And these can actually go to the bottom here. So for example, like this one here, the SQL statement, that is something that was customer relevant, where this times out, but I don't really know exactly what the next steps are and, you know, what work really needs to happen. So I pinged before the weekend. I'm waiting to hear back here, but that may be something that we need to accelerate based on on the customer people hitting this.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially like 2 more bugs that I think are sort of in the same category, like recently surfaced because they were hitting customers. And the rest in the planning bit here is essentially just for me to like actually add some body to the GeoDR epic. So this is a long list of things that I just need to like work through in the next couple of days. And then here, this is LFS object and job artifact verification. This is okay, but it depends on uploads. Refactoring of data types. I think we talked about that last time in solution validation. This is the like work that Douglas has been doing. Guardrails for versions changes. This is something I need to speak to about with Larissa. The selective sync. So we've shipped Docker registries in 12.3. I've spoken to a customer about this, but I haven't heard back yet. So I'll reach out again to do a little bit more work here. And then this here is really like there's a bunch of things in here that I just need to go through. My board is pretty full at the moment, so I have my Wednesday blocked out to work through this. And then in problem validation, there's not much change from the last time. So I need to schedule the customer interviews, which I haven't done yet. Some work on garbage collection in Docker registries. I think this year I'm almost done with, because I think there are technical sort of reasons for not accelerating that at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure. And some discussions I think that happened in the team recently.
Yeah.
But this is far away.
There's one piece of all the process change that we've put in the last few months. The one piece that is missing is around talking about and scheduling technical debt. So we need to figure out how to put that into the process, because to me, those items are part of that, like reading results, read from secondary by streaming results, and considering how each process event information to use eventing or messaging. That it's architecture / technical debt work that needs to take place, but we need to have a conversation, an async conversation about how to do this and when to do it and what else needs to be done alongside it. And those conversations need to somehow be taking place at a regular interval.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, honestly, like one observation I also had is, I mean, some technical debt gets tackled naturally when it's a part of like other work. And I think that's a preferred way of sort of packaging it. But some other technical debt may never be touched by itself, right? And I think that that still then accumulates.
Yeah, and it's just a different set of backlog grooming that has to happen. It's just grooming the backlog that has all of those labels attached.
Yep.
So I actually it's been on my list and I haven't gotten to it. We need to raise a discussion issue about how we're going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's true. And at the moment, like I think a lot of this also is early days. So that's actually, it's okay. But there's not that much movement here. But I think in a way, if I look at like how if you look at the flow of issues, I sometimes find that the planning flow here is a little bit slower than I would like. But then once it comes to the point where, yes, we have a solution and we're in the breakdown phase, all of a sudden it sort of accelerates and I fan out a lot of issues, which then get taken up pretty quickly. But that's also okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, my roadmap is in disgrace and exploded because I added a lot of sub-epics. I'll fix that. But I think at the moment, if I sort of go back to the build board and the scheduling board, I think we have plenty of things to work on at the moment. I don't think we are in shortage of defined work, right? Yeah. Which is great. And I think we're actually getting closer to the point that we wanted to be initially, where I think a lot of the items in here are sort of maybe 1 or 2 months away from actually being picked up by the team. And there's enough sort of buffer in here to say like, oh, okay, we need to do something. Well, let's focus on verification. So I think that's quite nice. And then finally, it's great to see more movement on the billboard. That makes me really happy, and I hope that that's the same for the team, because I feel it feels like nice velocity, right? Today we actually scheduled new things for this column, and we'll see in a week how it goes.
And I think I think part of that is to do with we've closed 2 long-running issues: the push messages on HTTP and the Docker registry replication. Mm-hmm. And I think once we close that, the third and final one about object storage, that opens up Gabriel to be part of the smaller iterative cycle that we put in place now. So hopefully it keeps accelerating. I mean, he's the last person to then join in on this way. So
yeah, good. That's it, I think. So we have like 12 or 8 new issues scheduled, and we still have quite a few in review, some in dev. So I think we're good until Friday.
Yes. Good. I think this has been another productive call. I will upload the contents thereof. And Fabian, if you could just collaborate with me on the discussion, the geo discussion Google Doc for what goes in the channel.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining, Ton. Cool. Bye.
Bye.